Please help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Please subscribe to my channel Painful Promises. Your support means a lot. Like, share, and turn on the notification bell. Enjoy the video. The first thing that caught my attention was the closet. It wasn't empty, exactly, but something about it felt off. Every hanger pointed in the exact same direction, lined up perfectly like in a hotel room that had been cleaned a little too carefully. My clothes were gone, yet the plastic hangers were still there, spaced evenly across the rod as if someone had arranged them on purpose. Whoever did it had taken their time. My desk had been wiped clean. The mattress looked strangely thin without the old blanket I had used for years. For a few seconds, I actually wondered if they were planning to repaint the room or move things around. Then I heard my mother's voice behind me. "You don't need to keep standing there," she said flatly. "Your job here is finished." Her tone wasn't angry. It was calm, too calm, the same polite voice she used when speaking to customer service representatives. I slowly turned to face her. "What are you talking about?" She folded her arms across her chest. "Your sister's tuition has been paid." I blinked, confused. "So, that was the arrangement," she replied. Arrangement? That word had never been mentioned before. "I live here," I said. "You lived here," she corrected coldly. A second later, a glass flew past my shoulder. It wasn't thrown with much force, but it smashed against the wall beside me. The pieces slid down the painted surface and scattered across the floor. "Don't make this dramatic," my mother said, almost bored. "Just take your things and leave." The strange part? There were no things left to take. A few months earlier, my life had been nothing but work. Double shifts, back-to-back hours, weekends included. The number $5,000 had been stuck in my mind like a ticking clock. My younger sister had been accepted into a university she had dreamed about attending. My parents talked about it constantly. How proud they were, how important her education was, how the entire family needed to support her future. They never actually asked me for money. Instead, they mentioned the tuition bill at dinner every single night. Over and over again. Eventually, the silence became unbearable. Not volunteering to help felt heavier than simply agreeing. So I started working extra shifts. I gave up weekends. I skipped lunches to save money. When I finally transferred the $5,000, my mother gave me a quick hug in the kitchen. "You're doing the right thing," she said. That was it. No celebration. No thank you beyond that sentence. After that moment, everything in the house went back to normal. At least it seemed normal, until the night I walked into my empty room. For the first week after that, I slept on the couch at my co-worker Ryan Parker's apartment. Ryan lived in Columbus, Ohio, and he didn't ask too many questions. Honestly, I appreciated that. It wasn't that I had nowhere else to go. I had enough money saved to rent a small place. The real reason I stayed on his couch was because my mind kept replaying everything, trying to make sense of it. Families argue. Families say cruel things. But being removed from your own home without warning felt different. It felt organized. Planned. Like a task someone had decided to complete. After a few days, another realization started to sink in. No one called. Not my mother. Not my sister. Even my father, David Carter, the man who used to send random reminders about oil changes or overdue bills, said nothing. The silence wasn't angry. It was emptiness. And that emptiness slowly made me understand something painful. My role in that house had been functional, not personal. 3 weeks later, I signed a lease for a tiny studio apartment in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The place had one narrow window facing a parking lot. The refrigerator hummed loudly like an old generator. The walls were plain and the space barely big enough for a bed and a small table. But for the first time in years, I noticed something strange when I checked my bank account. My paycheck stayed there. The money that used to vanish into family expenses simply remained untouched. At first, it felt wrong, like I had forgotten to pay something important. But after a while, that uncomfortable feeling slowly faded. It didn't turn into happiness. Just quiet. The first call from my father came on a Tuesday night. I watched the phone ring and let it go to voicemail. He called again the next morning. And again that evening. By the fifth call, Curiosity finally got the better of me. "Hello." His voice rushed through the speaker, tense and uneven. "Where have you been?" I almost laughed. "I've been living somewhere else," I answered calmly. "Well, we've been trying to reach you." I didn't reply to that. There was a pause, followed by the sound of papers shuffling on his end. "Listen," he said, lowering his voice, "there's a problem with your sister's tuition." The words hung in the air. Apparently, the $5,000 I had paid only covered the first installment. There were additional charges, housing adjustments, administrative fees, registration costs, details buried deep in the paperwork. My father sounded like someone who had opened a door and suddenly discovered a staircase he never knew existed. "They're saying the next payment is due soon," he explained. "And we can't figure out how they calculated all this." I leaned against the kitchen counter in my small apartment. For the first time since leaving, I pictured the old house again. The kitchen table. The stack of unopened mail my father ignored until something became overdue. "You used to take care of this stuff," he said quietly. "Used to." There was a long silence. "Can you stop by and take a look?" he asked. No apology. No explanation. Just a request for me to step back into the same role. I looked out my window at the dim parking lot. A stray cat walked between two parked cars, stopping halfway as if it wasn't sure where it belonged. "I don't live there anymore," I said. "Yes, but this is your sister's future." I let that sentence sit in the air. It used to work on me. Guilt had always been the language spoken in our family. But distance does something strange to obligation. It gives you space to hear the assumptions hiding inside people's requests. "I already helped," I said. "That was only the first payment." Another pause filled the line. While he waited, I realized something important. For years, I believed responsibility was what made me valuable. But now the power in this conversation wasn't money. It was the ability to choose. "I'm sure the university has a financial aid office," I said calmly. "They can explain everything." My father let out a sharp breath. "So you're not helping?" "I didn't say that," I replied. Another silence followed. Then he spoke quietly. "So, you're not coming back?" I looked around my small apartment. The humming refrigerator. The single window. The quiet space that belonged only to me. "No," I said. The call ended without a goodbye. For a while, I stood there in the silence of the room. No shouting. No dramatic ending. Just the low hum of the refrigerator. Later that night, my phone lit up again. My father's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring. Not because I was angry, but because, for the first time in my life, answering the phone wasn't something I owed anyone.